Imagine this. Someone betrays you, hurts you, or disrespects you. Instead of arguing, seeking closure, or proving a point, you simply forgive in silence and walk away forever. No anger, no explanations, just peace. What if true forgiveness required no words, no apology, no confrontation, not even closure? Just a silent choice to let go, freeing yourself from resentment, not for them, but for your own peace. The Stoics understood that true strength lies in letting go without seeking validation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This means you do not lower yourself to their level. You do not waste your energy on resentment. You simply move forward, leaving them behind. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of their actions. You do not need to announce your departure, nor do you need to seek justice. You just disappear from their world while thriving in yours. Forgiveness is a simple word, yet one of the most misunderstood and difficult acts a person can undertake. Is it about letting someone off the hook, pretending the pain never happened, or reopening the door to someone who hurt you? Or is it something entirely different, something rooted in your own freedom, not theirs? To understand forgiveness, we must first clear away the illusions. Forgiving does not mean excusing. It does not mean forgetting, and it certainly does not mean reconciling. If someone has betrayed your trust, wounded you deeply, or shattered something within you, forgetting their actions would be a disservice to your own growth. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It is about refusing to let the past dictate your future. The key distinction is this. Forgiveness is an internal act, not an external transaction. It is not a gift you give to another person. It is a choice you make for yourself. When you forgive, you're not saying, "What you did is acceptable." You are saying, "I will not let what you did define me." Yet, forgiveness remains one of life's greatest challenges. Why? Because we often mistake it for reconciliation. We believe that to forgive, we must sit down, explain our pain, and seek mutual understanding. But here is a difficult truth. Not everyone deserves reconciliation. Some relationships are so toxic, so damaging, that reopening them would only reopen old wounds. Imagine a traveler bitten by a venomous snake. The pain is immediate, but the true danger lies in what happens next. If he stands there fixated on the snake, demanding an apology, the venom will spread. His anger will not stop the poison from doing its work. But if he acknowledges the wound, treats it, and moves on, he survives. The snake may never be sorry, but the traveler's healing is his own responsibility. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believe we suffer not from events themselves, but from our perceptions of them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. You cannot control whether someone regrets their actions. You cannot force an apology, nor can you make them understand the pain they caused. But you can control how you respond. You can choose to let go, not for their sake, but for your own peace. The first step toward true forgiveness is recognizing that it is for you. It is not about waiting for an apology. Some people will never acknowledge their wrongdoing. Some will never change. But when you forgive in silence, when you stop reliving the pain and start reclaiming your own life, you take back your power. Because in the end, forgiveness is not about setting them free. It is about setting yourself free. The Stoics were masters of emotional resilience. They understood that life is filled with betrayals, injustices, and disappointments. But they also knew that clinging to anger only deepens our suffering. For them, forgiveness was not about morality or making peace with others. It was about something far more powerful, reclaiming inner freedom. Why allow someone else's actions to take up space in your mind? Why let resentment poison your peace when you could use that energy to build a life of strength and clarity? At the core of Stoic wisdom is a simple yet transformative principle. Focus only on what you can control. Epictetus reminds us that while we cannot control how others behave, we can control how we interpret their actions and how we choose to respond. When someone wrongs us, the instinct is often to retaliate, to demand justice, or to seek closure. But Marcus Aurelius warns us against this cycle of negativity. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, when you hold on to anger, you allow the person who hurt you to keep controlling your emotions. Silent forgiveness breaks the cycle, not for their sake, but for yours. This approach also aligns with another Stoic principle, emotional detachment. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending not to care. It means acknowledging your anger, pain, and disappointment without letting them dictate your actions. The Stoics understood that emotions are natural, but when they take over our thoughts, they become our prison. Seneca, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, wrote extensively on the dangers of anger. He believed that anger blinds us to reason, traps us in the past, and distorts our judgment. And on anger, he offers a profound piece of wisdom. Pardon others as though you yourself are at fault. This does not mean excusing their behavior. It means recognizing a simple truth. We all fall short. We all act out of ignorance or pain at times. Forgiveness is an acknowledgement of our shared imperfection. But here's the key. Stoic forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from resentment, not about repairing relationships that are not worth saving. Some people will never change. Some will never understand the harm they caused. And some relationships are best left behind. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself for this reality. Every morning, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They act this way because they do not know good from evil. His advice? Do not waste your energy trying to change those who cannot or will not change. Instead, focus on your own path. Silent forgiveness is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is the ultimate act of strength. It means choosing peace over resentment, freedom over bitterness. It is a way of saying, what happened to me hurt, but it no longer defines me. I choose to move forward. At first, forgiving in silence may seem counterintuitive. We live in a world that glorifies confrontation, closure, and making our voices heard. The idea of forgiving someone without addressing them, without their knowledge or acknowledgement, might feel like avoidance. But in reality, silent forgiveness is one of the most powerful and self-liberating choices you can make. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. When someone has hurt or betrayed you, confronting them can sometimes do more harm than good. If they deny responsibility, shift blame, or respond with hostility, you may walk away feeling even worse. Silent forgiveness allows you to let go on your own terms, without reopening old wounds or inviting unnecessary conflict. Forgiveness isn't about their reaction. It's about your release. You are not giving them a chance to justify their actions. You are simply choosing to free yourself from their hold over you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some people will never acknowledge the pain they caused. They may lack the self-awareness, empathy, or courage to take responsibility. Waiting for an apology or an explanation only keeps you trapped in frustration and disappointment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. This isn't about denying reality. It's about deciding that your peace matters more than their recognition of their wrongdoing. Silent forgiveness allows you to move forward, unburdened and free. Moving forward without waiting for something that may never come is a profound act of self-liberation. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation, and understanding this distinction is crucial. Forgiveness is about releasing resentment, allowing oneself to move forward without being weighed down by bitterness or anger. However, reconciliation requires trust, mutual effort, and a willingness to rebuild a relationship, something that is not always possible or healthy. Some relationships, particularly those that are toxic or abusive, are not meant to be repaired. Silent forgiveness provides a way to let go without reopening the door to a harmful dynamic. It allows for emotional closure without requiring engagement with the person who caused the hurt. Choosing forgive while maintaining distance is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a demonstration of wisdom and self-respect. Silent forgiveness is an act of great strength. It is easy to mistake silence for passivity, but true power lies in self-control. Choosing silent forgiveness means resisting the impulse for revenge and prioritizing inner peace over pride. It is not about avoiding confrontation, but about mastering one's own emotions and reactions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once stated that no person is truly free unless they have mastery over themselves. Silent forgiveness is the highest form of self-mastery. proving that emotions and actions are within one's control rather than dictated by the behavior of others. It signifies a refusal to allow external circumstances to determine inner peace and happiness. One of the greatest benefits of silent forgiveness is the emotional freedom it brings. Anger, resentment, and grudges are heavy burdens that consume mental and emotional energy, trapping a person in the past. Letting go of these emotions is like releasing a balloon into the sky. It does not require permission, validation, or acknowledgement from anyone else. Silent forgiveness does not mean ignoring pain, but rather recognizing it, processing it, and choosing to move beyond it. This process is not about the person who caused the hurt. It is about the one who chooses to forgive for their own peace of mind and emotional well-being. The journey to silent forgiveness requires patience, introspection, and conscious effort. The first step is acknowledging and accepting emotions. Often, when hurt, there is a tendency to suppress feelings or distract from the pain. But true forgiveness begins with confronting emotions honestly. Feelings of anger, sadness, disappointment, and betrayal are valid, and taking time to reflect on them is necessary. Writing down these emotions can help bring clarity, allowing for a deeper understanding of the impact of the situation. The goal is not to dwell on the pain, but to process it fully so that it can be released, ensuring that emotions do not dictate one's actions and overall state of mind. The next step is accepting what cannot be controlled. A core principle of Stoicism is to focus on what is within one's power and let go of what is not. When someone causes harm, their actions, feelings of remorse or lack thereof, and capacity for change are beyond personal control. The only thing within reach is the choice of how to respond. Whether to hold on to resentment or let it go is a personal decision. Accepting what cannot be changed does not mean condoning harmful behavior. Rather, it is about refusing to let someone else's actions dictate personal peace. Epictetus wisely advised making the best use of what is within one's power and accepting the rest as it happens. Letting go of resentment requires intention. Releasing anger does not happen naturally. It is a conscious choice. Visualization can be a powerful tool in this process, imagining resentment as a heavy weight that had been carried for too long, and then picturing oneself setting it down and walking away, feeling lighter and freer. Another effective method is journaling, particularly writing a letter to the person who caused pain, expressing every thought and emotion with no intention of sending it. Some find it therapeutic to burn the letter as a symbolic act of release. Meditation and mindfulness can also help shift focus away from past pain toward the present moment, creating space for peace and healing. Moving forward without looking back is the final step. Silent forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened, but about remembering without anger. It is about carrying the lessons without carrying the pain. In some cases, this may mean cutting ties with the person who caused harm. In others, it may involve setting firm boundaries while maintaining limited or redefined interactions. Most importantly, it means prioritizing personal well-being and emotional health. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the power of the mind over external events, stating that recognizing this power leads to true strength. Choosing silent forgiveness is an act of self-mastery, a deliberate decision to reclaim peace and emotional freedom. Forgiveness is not a single moment but a journey. By acknowledging emotions, letting go of what cannot be controlled, consciously releasing resentment, and moving forward, it becomes possible to find the peace that everyone deserves. The Stoic philosophers, masters of emotional discipline and inner peace, understood that resentment is a burden one places upon oneself. Their wisdom offers a timeless guide to silent forgiveness, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of self-liberation. Marcus Aurelius advised preparing for the inevitable flaws of others rather than allowing them to cause distress. Recognizing that people will be selfish, ungrateful, or dishonest does not mean accepting mistreatment, but rather ensuring that their actions do not disturb one's inner peace. Silent forgiveness is one of the most transformative choices a person can make. It is a decision to prioritize self-respect, personal growth, and emotional freedom over holding on to past grievances. Through this practice, individuals can cultivate inner strength, wisdom, and a deep sense of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. Silent forgiveness is a powerful concept rooted in wisdom and self-mastery. People often act in ways that hurt others, not because they are inherently evil, but because they are driven by ignorance, selfishness, or pain. Expecting them to behave differently only leads to frustration. Understanding this is not an act of pessimism, but of preparation. When we accept that others may wrong us out of their own limitations, we can approach life with a clearer perspective. Holding on to resentment only serves to keep us trapped in anger, preventing us from moving forward. True freedom comes when we learn to let go without waiting for an apology or validation. Seneca reminds us that anger clouds judgment and serves no real purpose. A great man, he writes, can be injured but not insulted, meaning that while others may harm us, it is ultimately up to us to decide whether we feel wounded. He also advises that we should pardon others as though we ourselves are at fault, not to excuse their behavior, but to recognize our shared imperfections. By releasing resentment, we are not justifying wrongdoing. We are refusing to let it define us. Epictetus reinforces this wisdom by teaching that the only thing within our control is our own response. It is not what happens to us, but how we react that truly matters. We cannot force someone to acknowledge their mistakes or offer an apology, but we can detach ourselves from a need for their validation. Silent forgiveness embodies this philosophy by shifting our focus away from external circumstances and toward inner freedom. When we stop expecting closure or justice from others, we regain control over our own peace of mind. The Stoic philosophers emphasize that forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius encourages us to expect imperfection and rise above it. Seneca teaches that anger serves no real purpose, and that recognizing our shared humanity makes forgiveness easier. Epictetus urges us to focus only on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our peace. Together, their insights form a powerful guide for forgiving in silence and moving forward with strength, clarity, and freedom. Despite its benefits, forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many people see it as a sign of weakness, as if letting go means allowing someone to escape the consequences of their actions. Others mistake forgiveness for reconciliation, believing that to forgive is to rebuild a broken relationship. There's also a common misconception that forgiveness means forgetting, erasing the past as if it never happened. These misunderstandings make the idea of forgiving, especially in silence, feel uncomfortable or even wrong. However, true forgiveness is none of these things. Forgiveness is not weakness. Holding on to anger may feel like a form of strength, but in reality, it keeps us emotionally bound to the very person who caused us pain. True power lies in self-mastery. Seneca reminds us that the most powerful person is the one who has control over their own emotions. Silent forgiveness is not about excusing someone's behavior. It is about reclaiming control over our own emotional state. Letting go does not mean surrendering. It means refusing to let resentment dictate our lives. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. Rebuilding a relationship requires trust, accountability, and mutual effort. However, some relationships are too toxic to repair, and that is okay. Forgiving someone does not mean we must welcome them back into our lives. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control other people, only ourselves. If someone's actions have shown that they are unwilling or incapable of change, it is not our responsibility to fix them. Silent forgiveness allows us to heal without reopening old wounds. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. The idea of forgive and forget is misleading because forgetting would mean ignoring the valuable lessons that pain has taught us. True forgiveness means remembering without bitterness. It involves acknowledging what happened, learning from it, and releasing the emotional hold it has over us. Silent forgiveness does not erase the past. It simply frees us from being imprisoned by it. Silent forgiveness is not suppression. Some mistake it for bottling up emotions, but there is a difference between burying pain and processing it with wisdom. Silent forgiveness does not mean ignoring feelings. It means confronting them, working through them, and then letting them go on our own terms. It is a deeply personal and intentional act of healing. Ultimately, forgiveness is not about weakness, reconciliation, or forgetting. It is about freedom. Silent forgiveness is a powerful way to reclaim peace without needing validation or permission from anyone else. When we truly understand what forgiveness means, we can approach it with clarity and strength. We do not need an apology. We do not need approval. We only need to make the decision to let go and move forward. Choosing forgive in silence brings profound transformation. It is not just about releasing resentment toward another person. It is about changing how we relate to ourselves, our emotions, and our future. Silent forgiveness is a process of empowerment, growth, and liberation that reshapes us from within. One of the most immediate benefits of silent forgiveness is inner peace. Resentment is a heavy burden that keeps us emotionally tethered to the past. When we release that burden, we create space for clarity and calm. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we have power over our own minds, not external events. By choosing silent forgiveness, we shift our focus inward and free ourselves from the turmoil of unresolved emotions. Silent forgiveness also builds emotional resilience. It takes discipline and self-awareness to let go of anger without seeking validation or resolution from the other person. However, each time we do, we strengthen our ability to navigate life's challenges with grace. True resilience is not about never feeling hurt. It is about learning to process pain without being consumed by it. Silent forgiveness teaches us to rise above negative emotions, focusing on our well-being rather than external circumstances. This shift in perspective extends to our relationships. Silent forgiveness forces us to evaluate the people in our lives, helping us determine who truly deserves our time, energy, and trust. Not everyone is meant to stay in our lives, and that is okay. Silent forgiveness does not mean welcoming someone back. It means setting them free and, more importantly, setting boundaries for ourselves. Epictetus reminds us that true wealth does not come from having many possessions, but from having few desires. The same principle applies to relationships. True emotional wealth comes from nurturing meaningful connections and letting go of those that harm us. One of the most liberating aspects of silent forgiveness is releasing the need for closure. Many believe that closure comes from a final conversation, an apology, or an explanation. However, the Stoics teach that waiting for closure is a trap. It keeps us tied to the past, hoping for a resolution that may never come. Silent forgiveness allows us to create our own closure. We do not need someone else's word to heal. Peace is something we give to ourselves. Finally, silent forgiveness is a catalyst for personal growth. It challenges us to confront our emotions, reflect on our values, and choose peace over conflict. By choosing forgiveness over resentment, we become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. We become individuals who prioritize inner tranquility over external chaos. Most importantly, we become free. The effects of silent forgiveness ripple outward. As we release resentment, we approach relationships with greater clarity, handle difficulties with more strength, and carry a sense of calm that no one can take from us. Silent forgiveness is not just about letting go of the past. It is about embracing the future with an open heart and an unshakable mind. Forgiveness is not a gift to others. It is a liberation of the self. It is not about making excuses, receiving apologies, or restoring relationships. It is about reclaiming our peace, our power, and our future. Silent forgiveness takes this idea even further by freeing us from the weight of resentment without requiring closure or validation. The Stoics teach that while we cannot control others, we can control our own responses. By choosing to forgive in silence, we choose freedom over anger, strength over bitterness, and self-respect over the need for justice. The question then becomes, is holding on to resentment worth it? Or is it time to let go, not for them, but for ourselves? Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it releases its hold on the future.